Hi friends, I am here with a special story just for you. My name is Pastor Veronica and I love sharing stories with you every week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Now, of course, if you can't join us live when I'm sharing the story, you can catch it later because all of our stories are shared on our Facebook page. Under the videos section, you can see all of our past stories going all the way back to March. You can also find them on our YouTube channel. Just do a search for Emmanuel Colleen, and you can also find them on our website, www.colleenemmanuel.com. So that's how you can catch all of our past stories. Today's story is called Grandma and Grandpa Smith. It was written by Edith Kunhardt and illustrated by Terri. So let's hear this story. Sam and Sally Smith lived in the city. They lived with their parents in a tall apartment building. They each had their own room. All right. Every summer, Sam and Sally went to visit their grandparents in the country. It was their special treat. Grandma and Grandpa Smith met them at the bus stop. How happy they were to see Sam and Sally. We brought Rex with us so you could see him right away, Grandpa told Sam. Sam ran to the car. Rex licked him all over his face. Grandma and Sally walked slowly to the car. Did you get a window seat in the bus? Asked Grandma. I had the front seat in the bus, said Sally at almost the same time. Grandma and Sally laughed and held hands. At Grandma and Grandpa Smith's house, Sam and Sally shared a room. They liked that. They could whisper and they could stay up later than they did at home. Grandma and Grandpa wanted to hear all about Mom and Dad. Dad was their little boy, all grown up. Mom and Dad worked all day. It was nice to be with Grandma and Grandpa, who were home all day. Every day of the vacation was busy. Sam and Sally helped in Grandma's garden. They pulled up weeds. They raked. Grandma let Sally cut some roses for the dinner table. Sally was careful not to get pricked by the thorns. There they are. Those are some pretty flowers. I see some sunflowers too. Sally and Sam were helping to build a new birdhouse in Grandpa's shop. Grandma is growing some beautiful big sunflowers, said Grandpa. I'll dry the seeds and use them to feed the birds next winter. Sometimes they all drove to the shopping mall. There were rides outside the stores. Sam and Sally went on the merry-go-round. Then they had ice cream cones. At the mall, Grandma got some new pots and seedlings. You can help me transplant the seedlings when they get big enough, she said to Sam and Sally. Grandpa went to the hardware store. He liked to look at all the tools and supplies. He bought a new steel tape measure. Sounds like a fun time, doesn't it? One day, Sam and Sally helped Grandma carry some things to the attic. Grandma started looking in a box. Oh, look, Sam, she exclaimed. Here's something for you to take home. It's your father's old baseball glove. He oiled that glove every night so it was soft and shiny. And now look at it. It's stiff and dusty. And here's an old locket of mine, Sally. Would you like to polish it up and take it home? It has a picture of me when I was little. Wasn't that so neat, finding fun things in the attic that are old and special? Sally and Grandma took the locket downstairs. They used an old toothbrush to scrub the outside of it. Sally looked and looked at the picture inside the locket. The picture was of a long-haired girl in a high-necked dress. Then Sally put on the locket. She didn't take it off again the whole time she was there, except when she took her bath. Sam ran outside to find Grandpa. Yes, that's your dad's glove, all right, Grandpa said. Let's clean it up so we can have a game of catch. Then you'll see how good the pocket is. Sam got some neat foot oil and made the glove all soft again. Then he and Grandpa had a game of catch. On Sam and Sally's last night of vacation, Grandma and Grandpa took them to a drive-in movie. They all shared a big bucket of popcorn. Sam and Sally fell asleep in the car on the way home. I love it, drive-in movies. They're so fun. The birdhouse was finished. The next morning, Sam and Sally and Grandma and Grandpa all helped put it up. We'll think of you every time we feed the birds this winter, said Grandma. Here we go. Then it was time for Sam and Sally to go home. Sally took some fresh flowers for Mom. They were wrapped up in wet newspaper so they wouldn't wilt. Sam carried the baseball glove. Goodbye, goodbye, they called, leaving. See you next year. Aw, isn't that fun? Again, this story was Grandma and Grandpa Smith, written by Edith Kunhardt and illustrated by Terri. Oh, I love spending time with my grandparents when I was little. And even though they're not around anymore, they're in heaven, I still have wonderful memories of doing fun things with them. But I'm so thankful that my son Harry gets to have lots of fun with his own grandparents as well. He has a Grandma and Grandpa Smith, just like in the story, although he visits them in different places. So he has lots of memories with his Grandma Smith in Washington and lots of memories with his Grandpa Smith in California. And of course, he's also had lots of fun with my parents, his grandparents, his grandma and granddad, Weber. So he does lots of things with them, like fishing and baking and spending time in the garden and feeding the birds. So lots of adventures to be had with our grandparents. And I hope that you have had a chance to have some adventures with your grandparents too. And if not, someday when you're a grandparent yourself, I hope that you'll make sure to have lots of fun with your grandchildren too. Well, friends, that's the story I have for you today. Whenever you go to sleep, I hope that you sleep well and have sweet dreams. And remember, God loves you, and so do I. Good night.